The alarm rang through the Colorado Mountain Base at 3 in the morning. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison rolled out of his bunk and ran to the communications room. His job was to listen to space. Most nights were quiet. Tonight was different. Static filled his headphones. Then he heard something that made his blood freeze. A voice. Not human. Speaking words he had never heard before, but the computer was already working to translate them. Please ... Anyone who can hear this message ... We are dying. Jake's hands shook as he adjusted the controls. The voice came through clearer now. The computer had learned enough to translate most of the words. This is Admiral Zex Thara of the Kepler Confederation. Our worlds are under attack. The Vorthek have destroyed 6 of our colonies. They are coming for our home worlds next. We have women and children who will die if no one helps us. Please, if there is anyone out there with ships and weapons, we will give you anything you ask for. Just help us survive. Jake hit the emergency button. Red lights flashed throughout the base. Within minutes, his commanding officer burst into the room. What do we have, Morrison? Sir, we're receiving a distress call from space. It's not from any of our ships or stations. It's from aliens, sir. They're asking for military help. The commander listened to the recording. His face went pale. Get me the Pentagon, right now. 2 hours later, Jake found himself in a video call with people he had only seen on television. President Elizabeth Kane sat at a long table with military leaders and scientists. Everyone looked tired and worried. Play it again, the president said. Jake played the alien message one more time. The room stayed quiet until it finished. General Peter Collins, head of the Solar Defense Force, spoke first. Ma'am, we've been preparing for this day for 50 years. Ever since we found that probe on Mars, we knew there were others out there. We knew some of them might be hostile. Dr. Lisa Park, a woman with gray hair and kind eyes, leaned forward. Mr. President, I've studied the language patterns in this message. These beings are genuinely afraid. This isn't a trap or a trick. They're facing extinction. What do we know about these Vorthek they mentioned? President Kane asked. From what we can tell from their radio chatter, they're a warrior species. They attack peaceful worlds and strip them of resources. They don't negotiate. They don't take prisoners. They just destroy everything in their path. The president looked around the table. General Collins, how ready is our fleet? Collins straightened in his chair. We have 12 battleships, 48 destroyers, and 96 frigates stationed throughout the solar system. Hidden bases behind Jupiter's moons, in the asteroid belt, and near Pluto. Each ship has the most advanced weapons and shields we've ever built. Our crews have trained for interstellar combat for years. But they've never fought a real war, someone pointed out. No, sir, but they're ready. Our weapons can destroy anything we've ever tested them against. Our shields can take massive amounts of punishment. And our soldiers are the best trained fighters in human history. Dr. Park pulled up star charts on the main screen. The Kepler Confederation is about 40 light years from Earth. If these Vorthek defeat them and keep expanding, they could reach our solar system within a generation. So we have 2 choices, President Kane said slowly. We can hide and hope. They never find us, or we can help these aliens and announce to the galaxy that humans exist. General Collins stood up. Ma'am, with respect, there's only one choice. These are innocent people asking for help. We have the power to save them. If we don't act, we'll have to live with the knowledge that we let an entire civilization die when we could have prevented it. The president looked at each person around the table. All in favor of military intervention? Every hand went up. Then, God help us all. President Kane turned to Collins. General, how long to mobilize the fleet? Admiral Ryan Stone can have the Terra Nova fleet ready to launch in 72 hours. 3 days later, Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching the largest military force in human history prepare for war. Hundreds of ships moved through space like a deadly dance. Each vessel was massive, bristling, with weapons that could crack planets. The flagship was the UE's Liberator, a ship so large it had its own gravity. Captain Amy Chun commanded 30,000 crew members aboard that single vessel. Jake had met her briefly during a briefing. She was calm and professional, but he could see the determination in her eyes. "It's really happening, isn't it, Doctor?" Park joined him at the window. She had been assigned to the fleet as their expert on alien cultures. "Yes, ma'am. Tomorrow they jump to hyperspace. I've been studying those distress calls. The Kepler Confederation consists of 7 different species. They've been at peace for over 200 years. They never developed powerful weapons because they never needed them. They're artists, scientists, farmers. And now they're about to be wiped out by monsters." Jake watched a squadron of destroyers move into formation. "What kind of chance do we have against these Vorthik?" Dr. Park smiled for the first time since the crisis began. "Jake, the Vorthik have been fighting agricultural worlds and peaceful traders. They've never faced anything like human military technology. They have no idea what's coming for them." That night, Admiral Stone addressed the entire fleet over the communication system. His voice reached every ship, every crew member, preparing for humanity's first interstellar war. "Tomorrow we leave the solar system and travel to a distant star to fight an enemy we've never seen, to protect people we've never met. Some of you are wondering why we're risking human lives for aliens. The answer is simple. They asked for help, and we have the power to give it. That's what makes us human. We don't walk away when innocent people are in danger." Jake listened from the communication center of Luna Station. Around him, technicians monitored the fleet's final preparations. "When we reach Kepler space, we'll be announcing humanity's presence to the galaxy. They'll learn that Earth doesn't just send diplomats or traders when asked for aid. When peaceful civilizations call for help, Earth sends the fleet." The Admiral's voice grew stronger. "Let's show the galaxy what humans do to bullies who pick on those weaker than themselves. All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump in 18 hours." Jake Morrison watched the fleet disappear into hyperspace the next morning. For the first time in human history, Earth's children were traveling to the stars, not as explorers, but as warriors coming to save an entire civilization from destruction. He wondered if they would ever come home, and what kind of galaxy would be waiting for them when they did. The Terra Nova fleet traveled through hyperspace like ghosts moving between worlds. Admiral Ryan Stone stood on the bridge of the UE's Liberator, watching stars streak past the main view screen. They had been traveling for 3 weeks, and the crew was getting restless. "Admiral, incoming message from the Kepler Confederation," Communications Officer Linda Hayes reported. Her voice was tight with worry. "Put it through." Admiral Zexthara's face appeared on the screen. The alien looked like a tall, thin human, with blue skin and large silver eyes. But now those eyes showed pure terror. "Unknown friends who answered our call, please hurry. The Vorthik have taken 2 more star systems. They destroyed the colony on Bright Water yesterday. 3 million people lived there. Now there's nothing but ash and bones." Stone's jaw tightened. "How long until they reach your capital world?" 2 weeks, maybe less. Their ships move faster than we thought possible. Our remaining fleet cannot stop them. We have 40 ships left. They have thousands. "We'll be there in time," Stone promised. "Hold your positions and wait for us." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in heavy silence. Captain Amy Chun stepped forward. "Admiral, request permission to break fleet formation. My destroyer squadrons can make better time if we jump ahead of the main fleet." Stone considered this. "How many ships?" 24 destroyers and 48 frigates. "We can arrive a week early and scout the enemy positions." "Do it, but maintain radio silence until the main fleet arrives. We need to study these Vorthik before we engage them." 3 decks below, Commander Steve Kelly was putting his Marines through combat drills. The training room shook as soldiers in powered armor practiced boarding maneuvers. Each suit weighed half a ton and made its wearer nearly bulletproof. "Listen up," Kelly shouted over the noise. "These Vorthok are bugs. Big, mean bugs that like to eat other species. But bugs can be squashed if you know how to step on them." Private Danny Brown raised his hand. "Sir, what if their ships are too tough for our weapons?" Kelly grinned. "Son, these aliens have been fighting farmers and shopkeepers for the past 50 years. They've never seen what happens when humans go to war. Our plasma rifles can cut through tank armor. Our grenades can level buildings. And each of you is wearing a suit that can punch holes in steel walls." The Marines cheered, but Kelly could see nervousness in some faces. They were about to fight an enemy that had destroyed entire worlds. In the science labs, Dr. Monica Davis studied every piece of information about the Vorthok they could gather. The enemy ships looked like giant insects made of metal and bone. They seemed to grow their vessels instead of building them. "This is fascinating," she told her assistant, Dr. Carl Mitchell. "The Vorthok don't use traditional technology. Their ships are alive. They're part machine, part creature." "What does that mean for our weapons?" Mitchell asked. "It means they can heal damage over time, but they're also vulnerable to things that kill living tissue. Our plasma weapons should be very effective." Davis pulled up more data on her computer. "Look at this. The Vorthok reproduce by consuming other species. They don't just want territory or resources. They need to eat entire populations to make more of themselves." Mitchell looked sick. "So if they win, every intelligent species in the galaxy eventually becomes their food." Captain Tony Martinez commanded the destroyer U.S. Ranger, one of the ships that had jumped ahead of the main fleet. His crew was young and eager, but none of them had ever been in real combat. "Sir, we're approaching the edge of Kepler space," his navigator reported. "Take us out of hyperspace. All ships maintain stealth mode." The Ranger and her sister ships dropped back into normal space at the edge of the New Harmony system. "What?" they saw made everyone on the bridge gasped out. Thousands of dark shapes moved through space toward the beautiful blue and green world of New Harmony. The Vorthok fleet was massive beyond belief. Each ship looked like a nightmare insect, the size of a city block. "Count them," Martinez ordered. "Sir, I'm reading over 3,000 enemy vessels. They're arranged in groups of about 50 ships each." Martinez felt his heart sink. Even with the full Terra Nova fleet, they would be outnumbered 5-1. "Sir, look at this," the weapons officer called out. "The Kepler Confederation fleet is trying to defend the planet. They have maybe 200 ships total." On the main screen, they watched a desperate battle. The alien defenders fired blue energy beams at the approaching Vorthok swarm. Some enemy ships exploded, but for every one destroyed, 10 more took its place. "The Confederation ships are fighting well, but they're too few," Martinez said quietly. "Signal the other destroyers. We watch and learn. Study their weapons, their tactics, their weak points. When Admiral Stone arrives with the main fleet, we'll be ready." For 6 days, the human ships stayed hidden and watched the battle develop. The Vorthok moved in organized swarms, overwhelming defenders with sheer numbers. Their weapons were crude, but effective, spraying acid and launching living missiles that ate through armor. But Martinez noticed something important. The largest Vorthok ships stayed in the center of each swarm, protected by smaller vessels. These command ships seemed to control the others. "Those big ones in the middle," he told his tactical officer. "They're giving orders to the rest. Take out the brain, and the body stops working." On the 7th day, Admiral Stone's main fleet arrived at the edge of the system. 12 massive battleships dropped out of hyperspace, followed by dozens of cruisers and destroyers. The U's Liberator alone was larger than most Kepler Confederation ships. Martinez opened a secure channel to the flagship. "Admiral Stone, this is Captain Martinez reporting. We've been observing the enemy for 1 week. I have tactical recommendations." "Go ahead, Captain." "Sir, the Vorthak use swarm tactics, but they're controlled by command ships in the center of each group. Their weapons are short range, and they rely on boarding actions to capture enemy vessels. They've never fought anyone with weapons like ours." Stone studied the tactical display. The battle for New Harmony was reaching its final stage. Kepler Confederation ships were being destroyed faster than they could retreat. "All ships, prepare for combat," Stone announced to the fleet. "We're going to show these bugs what happens when they pick on peaceful people." Captain Chun stood on the bridge of the Liberator, watching her weapons crews make final preparations. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids powered up along the ship's hull. Railguns loaded with projectiles that could punch holes through planets locked onto targets. "Admiral," she said quietly, "the crew is ready." "Orders?" Stone looked at the swarm of enemy ships attacking the helpless planet. "Signal all ships. We jump in behind the main Vorthak fleet in 60 seconds. Hit the command ships first, then work outward. Show them what Earth sends when peaceful people ask for aid." The Terra Nova fleet moved into attack formation, preparing to announce humanity's presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. The Vorthak attack on New Harmony looked like a swarm of angry insects attacking a flower. Thousands of dark ships surrounded the beautiful planet while Admiral Zexthara's remaining fleet fought desperately to protect their homeworld. Captain Tony Martinez watched from his hidden position as another Kepler Confederation cruiser exploded under Vorthak fire. The alien defenders were brave, but they were losing badly. In a few more hours, the planet would fall. "Sir, incoming hyperspace." "Signatures," his radar officer called out. Multiple large contacts approaching fast. Martinez smiled for the first time in days. "That's Admiral Stone with the cavalry. All ships, prepare to decloak on my signal." The main Terra Nova fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. 12 massive battleships appeared like avenging angels, their hulls bristling with weapons. The U's Liberator led the formation, its plasma cannons already glowing with deadly energy. "This is Admiral Stone to all Vorthak forces," the message broadcast across all frequencies. "You are attacking a world under Earth's protection. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The Vorthak response was exactly what everyone expected. The insect ships turned toward the human fleet and attacked with savage fury. Thousands of enemy vessels swarmed toward the Terra Nova fleet like locusts. "All ships weapons free," Admiral Stone commanded. "Show them what humans do to bullies." Captain Martinez gave the order his crews had been waiting for. All destroyers to cloak and engage. Target the command ships first. 24 human destroyers suddenly appeared in the middle of the Vorthak formation. Their plasma cannons opened fire at point-blank range, cutting through enemy ships like hot knives through butter. The Vorthak had never faced weapons like these before. The U.S. Ranger's main gun fired a railgun projectile at 90% the speed of light. The tungsten rod punched completely through a Vorthak command ship and kept going, destroying 2 more vessels behind it. "Direct hit on primary target," Martinez's weapons officer reported with excitement. "The entire enemy squadron is breaking formation." Across the battle zone, the same scene played out dozens of times. Human destroyers appeared from nowhere and destroyed the Vorthak command ships with devastating precision. Without their leaders, the insect swarms became confused and disorganized, but the real shock came when the main fleet opened fire. U.S. Liberator's forward batteries unleashed a barrage that lit up space like a second sun. Each plasma bolt was hot enough to melt steel, and Captain Amy Chun had hundreds of them. "Target the largest enemy concentration," she ordered. Full broadside, The Liberator's entire left side erupted in fire. 60 plasma cannons fired simultaneously, creating a wall of destruction that vaporized everything in its path. An entire Vorthek battle group simply ceased to exist. Admiral Zexthara watched from her flagship in complete amazement. These unknown humans had arrived with weapons beyond her understanding. Each human ship seemed to have more firepower than her entire remaining fleet. "Open a channel to the human flagship," she ordered. "Admiral Stone, this is Admiral Zexthara. We are grateful beyond words for your assistance. How can we coordinate our attacks?" Stone's voice came through clearly. "Admiral, pull your ships back to defensive positions around the planet. We'll handle the Vorthek fleet." "But sir, there are thousands of them, even with your superior weapons." "Admiral, you've been fighting these bugs for months with farming equipment. Watch what happens when they meet a real military." The Terra Nova fleet moved through the Vorthek swarm like wolves among sheep. Human ships were faster, better armored, and armed with weapons that turned enemy vessels into scrap metal with single shots. Commander Steve Kelly watched the space battle from the Marine Bay of the U.S. Liberator. His soldiers were suited up and ready for boarding actions, but the enemy ships were being destroyed too quickly. "Sir, we're getting reports from the other ships," Sergeant Tim Collins reported. "The Vorthek are trying to board some of our destroyers." Kelly grinned inside his helmet. "Finally, signal all Marine units. Time to show these bugs what happens when they come aboard human ships." The first Vorthak boarding pod attached to the destroyer U.S. Thunder with a wet, organic sound. The pod opened like a flower, revealing dozens of insect warriors, each the size of a small car. They had razor-sharp claws, acid spit, and absolutely no fear. They also had no idea what they were walking into. The Thunder's Marine detachment was waiting in the corridor. Each human soldier wore powered armor that made them nearly invulnerable to Vorthek weapons. When the bugs charged, the Marines opened fire with plasma rifles. The result was not a battle but a massacre. Vorthak warriors that had terrorized peaceful aliens for decades fell like wheat before the scythe. Human weapons designed to penetrate tank armor cut through bug chitin like paper. "Boarding party eliminated," the Thunder's captain reported. "No human casualties." Similar reports came from every ship that faced boarding attempts. The Vorthek had evolved to fight weak opponents. Against human military technology and training, they were helpless. Dr. Monica Davis watched the battle from the Liberator's science station. Her equipment was recording everything for later analysis. "Admiral, I'm detecting some kind of communication network between the enemy ships," she reported. "It appears to be biological rather than electronic. Can you disrupt it?" "Not directly. But sir, I think I know how their command structure works. The largest ships aren't just giving orders. They're actually controlling the smaller ones through some kind of hive mind connection." Admiral Stone understood immediately. "All ships, priority targeting on the super-large enemy vessels. Take out their queens and the workers will scatter." The human fleet shifted tactics, concentrating fire on the massive Vorthek motherships. These vessels were the size of small moons and heavily armored, but human weapons were designed to crack planets if necessary. They used Liberator and 3 other battleships focused their fire on the largest enemy ship. Hundreds of plasma bolts and railgun projectiles hammered the Vorthek monster. Its organic armor began to melt and crack under the incredible assault. When the great ship finally exploded, something amazing happened. Hundreds of smaller Vorthek vessels suddenly stopped fighting. They drifted in space like lost children, no longer receiving orders from their dead queen. "Incredible," Dr. Davis breathed. "They really are like insects. Cut off the head and the body dies." The battle turned into a rout. With their command ships destroyed, the Vorthek swarm fell apart. Some enemy vessels tried to retreat, but human ships were faster. Others attempted desperate ramming attacks, But human shields were too strong. Within 6 hours, the massive Vorthak fleet that had threatened to destroy an entire civilization was reduced to drifting wreckage. Not a single human ship had been lost, and casualties were minimal. Admiral Zexthara's voice came over the communication system, filled with wonder and gratitude. "Admiral Stone, your fleet has accomplished the impossible. You have saved not just New Harmony, but our entire civilization." Stone looked at the tactical display showing thousands of destroyed enemy ships. "Admiral, when peaceful people call for help, Earth answers, always." The wreckage of the Vorthak fleet drifted through space like a graveyard of metal and bone. Admiral Ryan Stone stood on the bridge of the UE's Liberator, watching his crews search for survivors among the destroyed enemy ships. They found very few. "Admiral, we're receiving surrender signals from the remaining Vorthak vessels," Communications Officer Linda Hayes reported. "About 200 ships are requesting mercy." Stone considered his options. The easy choice would be to destroy them all. These creatures had murdered billions of innocent people across dozens of worlds. But mercy was what separated humans from monsters. "Signal all remaining Vorthak ships. They will surrender unconditionally and submit to inspection. Any vessel that tries to escape will be destroyed. Any vessel found carrying prisoners or stolen technology will face immediate execution of its crew." Captain Tony Martinez brought his destroyer alongside one of the surrendering Vorthak ships. The alien vessel looked like a dying beetle, its organic hull cracked and bleeding some kind of green fluid. "Sir, our boarding teams report finding slave pens inside the enemy ship," Martinez's first officer reported grimly. "They were keeping captured aliens as food supplies." Martinez felt sick but kept his voice steady. "Transfer the prisoners to our medical bay, then destroy that ship. Some things are too evil to let live." Across the battlefield, similar discoveries were being made. The Vorthak had not just conquered worlds. They had turned entire populations into cattle, keeping them alive only long enough to eat them slowly. Commander Steve Kelly led a boarding party onto the largest surviving Vorthak vessel. Inside, they found something that made even battle-hardened Marines stop and stare. Thousands of cocoons hung from the ceiling, each containing a living alien from one of the conquered worlds. "Sir, these people are still alive," Sergeant Tim Collins reported. "The bugs were keeping them fresh for later consumption." Kelly's voice was hard as steel. "Cut them down, all of them. Get our medical teams in here right now." The rescue operation took 3 days. Human ships worked around the clock to free prisoners from the Vorthak vessels. They saved over 50,000 beings from dozens of different species. All of them had horror stories about watching their families and friends being devoured by the insect monsters. Dr. Monica Davis interviewed some of the survivors and learned the true scope of Vorthak cruelty. They had not just destroyed the Kepler Confederation's outer colonies. They had wiped out 12 other civilizations over the past century, eating every intelligent being they could catch. "Admiral," she reported to Stone, "we didn't just win a battle. We stopped a plague that was consuming the entire galaxy." Admiral Zexthara invited the human fleet commanders to New Harmony for a formal ceremony. The planet's capital city was beautiful, with crystal towers that caught the sunlight and gardens that stretched for miles. Millions of aliens lined the streets to see the humans who had saved their world. Stone felt uncomfortable with all the attention. He was a soldier, not a diplomat. But he understood that this moment would shape how humanity was viewed by every species in the galaxy. The ceremony took place in a vast amphitheater that could hold 100,000 beings. Representatives from 47 different alien civilizations had traveled to New Harmony to meet the humans. Some looked grateful. Others seemed afraid. "Friends from Earth," Admiral Zexthara spoke to the crowd. 3 weeks ago, our civilization faced extinction. We sent a desperate message into space, hoping someone would hear our call for help. We expected no answer. Who would risk their lives for strangers? The crowd was completely silent, hanging on every word. Earth heard our call, and Earth did not send negotiators or observers. They sent the most powerful military force we have ever seen. They traveled 40 light years to fight an enemy they had never met, to save people they had never seen. Stone stepped forward to address the gathering. He had prepared a speech, but looking at all those faces, he decided to speak from his heart instead. We came because it was the right thing to do. Where we come from, we have a saying: evil wins when good people do nothing. We could not stand by and watch innocent beings die when we had the power to help. An alien from the crowd called out, "But why? What do you want from us in return?" Stone smiled. "We want you to live free and in peace. That's all. No payment required." The crowd erupted in cheers that lasted for 10 minutes, but not everyone was celebrating. Captain Amy Chun noticed that some of the alien diplomats looked worried rather than grateful. Later, at a private meeting, those concerns became clear. Ambassador Krell, representing the Galactic Trade Federation, spoke for many of the older civilizations. "Admiral Stone, your fleet's power is impressive, but it raises questions. What happens when you decide that other species are not living the way you think they should? Will Earth's fleet come to enforce your will on them too?" Stone had expected this question. "Ambassador, Earth has no interest in conquering or controlling other worlds. We will only use our military to protect peaceful civilizations from aggressors like the Vorthek." "And who decides which civilizations are peaceful and which are aggressive?" Another alien diplomat asked. Captain Chun stepped forward. "We do. And if that makes you uncomfortable, maybe you should ask yourself why." The diplomatic meetings continued for a week. Some alien governments wanted to form alliances with Earth. Others demanded that humans limit their military expansion. A few even suggested that Earth's fleet was as dangerous as the Vorthek had been. Dr. Lisa Park, who had arrived with a diplomatic mission from Earth, tried to ease these tensions. But she privately reported to Admiral Stone that humanity's demonstration of military power had changed the galaxy forever. "Sir, half of them see us as saviors. The other half see us as a threat. Both groups are probably right." President Elizabeth Kane's response came through quantum communication. Earth's leaders had made their decision about humanity's role in the galaxy. "Admiral Stone, you are to establish permanent patrol routes through Kepler space. Any species that threatens peaceful civilizations will face the Terra Nova fleet. Make it clear that Earth stands ready to answer future calls for aid." Stone gathered his senior officers to plan their new mission. Captain Martinez would command a squadron based at New Harmony. Commander Kelly would train alien security forces in modern combat techniques. Dr. Davis would study other potential threats to galactic peace, but Admiral Stone would return to Earth with most of the fleet. The victory over the Vorthek had been decisive, but intelligence reports were already coming in about other aggressive species watching humanity's actions. "Sir," Captain Chun asked, "what if the next threat is bigger than the Vorthek? What if we face something we can't handle?" Stone looked out at the stars where human ships now patrolled to keep peace. "Then we'll build a bigger fleet. The galaxy has seen what happens when peaceful people call for help. Earth sends the fleet, and we'll keep sending it as long as there are bullies who think they can prey on the innocent." Back on Earth, construction had already begun on new shipyards. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy as protectors of the weak. That was a responsibility they intended to take seriously. The Terra Nova fleet had won the first battle, but Admiral Stone knew it would not be the last dot in the depths of space. Other predator species were taking notice of the humans. Some would be deterred by the fate of the Vorthek. Others would see Earth's fleet as a challenge to be met. The galaxy was vast, and humanity had claimed the role of its guardians. They would be ready when the next call for aid came.